All right. What's going on, party people? This your man Grill. Just double checking the mic there. I always keep forgetting to make sure that thing is unmuted. All right, we're gonna hop right on into this here. Grand rising to y'all. Happy week, whatever time you're looking at this. Happy day, whatever day you look of the week you're looking at this, and happy year, whatever year you're looking at this. So we're going to talk about the 5 B's of a loan closing. Now, granted, somebody will come out and say, "Hey, that ain't my 5 B's. These are mine." Okay, these are my 5 B's for loan closings that I focus on and that I do at each and every closing to ensure that the customer, as well as the signing service, the escrow, title, and lender have a great experience working with me. All right. So the first B is be on time. You need to be on time to your appointment. Granted, there are times where you have traffic and other issues that may interfere, but you want to be on time more often than not. Always be on time whenever possible. And some people will say, "Well, I'm always on time." That's great for you. But when you're doing this business full time, you got 5 and 6 signings in a day. You have document issues, documents being late, signers being late, all kinds of things. So you need to focus on being on time, which means don't double book yourself, triple book yourself if you truly know you're not going to be able to make the second appointment, the third appointment, so forth and so on. So always focus on being on time. Understand the routes that you need to drive, the time of day that you need to get there. All of those things are factors for you to ensure that you're on time more often than not. Again, I'm not going to say that every somebody may have done 500 signings and never been late. Great for you, but things can happen. Always call the signer, and if you need to, contact the contracting company and let them know you're running behind. You read the instructions, you'll find out what they want you to do in case you're being late. All right, be on time. That's the first thing. You got to be on time. Second, once you get there, be respectful. Be respectful. Now, what I mean by that is respect, first of all, the person's home when you come there. You may look and see, okay, it might be 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you might see one car in the driveway. That means you probably don't want to just pull into their parking lot, their driveway, because they might have other people coming there. Park on the street if you're able to. Also, once you get into the property, maybe not walk across the grass. You see what I'm saying? Don't walk across the grass. When you get up there to the door and you go inside the house, take a look to the left or to the right. And if you see a bunch of shoes sitting up there at the front of the door, ask them, "Do you want me to take my shoes off?" Different cultures prefer you to take your shoes off. Sometimes, and even if you have the booties, they say, "Well, no, we don't want the booties on. We want you to take your shoes off. That's our culture." You take your shoes off and then put the booties on your feet. You can walk with booties on your actual feet, or you carry something. You find out. Um, Once you're in the house, don't just go running to the first table you see, thinking that that's where they want you to do the closing at. They may say, "Well, no, we want you to be back here in the kitchen." Okay. Or you might run back to the kitchen and say, "Nah, we're gonna be up front." So once I get there, I ask them, I say, "Well, lead the way and I will follow you." I allow them to maintain control over their residence. I don't come in there taking charge of their residence, their home, or any of that. Okay. Be respectful. And then I'm respectful to them. Okay. I'm always respectful to them. I'm not making little side jokes. I'm not making little quirky statements, things of that nature. I'm not staring them down. I'm not looking all through their house like, wow. I don't focus on what their house is, what it has or doesn't have. If their house is clean, if their house is dirty, I don't say a word. If they're looking like whatever, I don't say a word. I focus on what I'm there to do and show them the necessary respect. All right. Be respectful. The next thing is be organized. When you get there, well, even before you get there, you have to have a system in place on how you're going to be organized when you present the documents, when you lay things out, all of that. So have a system in place when you get there. One of the things that I do, and I know a lot of you probably don't do this, I give the customer a copy of the copy of their documents up front. When I get there, and especially if they sit down at the table while they're waiting on me and they're giving me their IDs, I hand them a copy of the documents and let them look through it. And that keeps them busy while I'm recording the IDs in my notary logbook. Many of you don't give them their copies until at the end because you think that if I hold it all to the end, that will, speed things up and keep them from asking me questions. Not necessarily. It may not. Okay. So be organized in how you set your pens out, your clipboards, everything. Show them that you're organized, because the more organized you show them that you are, the less likely they will try to take over your signing. Okay. And I know a lot of what we people have told you is to keep control of the environment, the more organized. And what I found out after over 1,500 of these, and yes, there's people who've done a lot more and been in more years than me, which I've been in just under 4 years. But what I found out is that when you come there and they see you have a system in place, they see you're organized and that you're doing things a certain way, people tend not to want to mess with that system. And I don't have to tell them, hey, I'm in charge of this. I'm doing this. I'm running the show here. They see my system. They see my clipboard. They see I put my pens here, my this, my that. I set everything out in a certain manner. And they're like, okay. And I've had people say, wow, you got a nice little system here. And they like the fact that I'm organized. Lastly, when you come in there and show that you're organized, it immediately brings a level of respect to you and your business, because they're like, okay, you really are a professional. You're not just some notary hack that's just doing this just to make money, but you take your position and your role and your job as a notary serious. That's what I've been told multiple times. And guess what? When they do the after closing survey with the customer, that's what they're going to communicate, that Stephen Griffin is very organized. He's very organized. He's meticulous. He had everything in place, and we got through that signing in no time at all. Boom. All right. Next, be aware of your state laws. Understand your state laws of what you can and cannot do in a closing. Be aware of what you can and cannot say. We've discussed this before. You need to be aware of what you can and cannot do in accordance with your state laws. I don't care what this, and I know this is going to sound funny, what the signing company and other companies say, what you should, somebody, you got to do this and you better do it this way. Remember, you're 1099, and that's a whole nother subject there. You are contracted to them to perform an act, and the act is to get those documents notarized. And you're supposed to perform them in accordance with your state laws. That's the number one thing you're there to do. So when they start asking you to notarize certain things, say certain things, do certain things, and it's not in accordance with your state law, you need to politely let them know that, look, I'm not your employee. I'm an independent contractor. I understand what I'm supposed to do. And first, let me do what I'm supposed to do in accordance with my state law. Okay. That's it. I'm not trying to say to be rebellious. I'm not trying to say create a bad environment. But what I'm saying is you have to do your state law, because if you, the notary, get pulled into court about something you didn't do, nobody's going to stand for you. You got to be able to stand for yourself. Why did you do this? Okay. And lastly, on this here about knowing your state laws, one of the biggest issues going on right now is that notaries in several states are not doing the oath when they are there at the signing, and they're not recording their signers in the logbook. So even though your state law may say you don't have to do a notary logbook, and that's primarily probably for your general notary work, or they just don't care, you still have to do it for the mortgages, deeds, and anything else. If there's a deed to it, you need to put it in that logbook that you met them and record your notarizations in accordance with that. That's what you have to do. So you need to understand your state laws, and you need to understand the fact that if you're a notary signing agent certified by the NNA, you need to record those deeds in there. And the lender may require it. Okay. They may require that, hey, we keep record of this. So in case somebody disputes the fact that you came there or that they were sworn in, you have it recorded. And even if your logbook doesn't have a spot where you can denote that the persons were sworn in, you can make an annotation and say signers were sworn in, and the signers can initial. So there's ways you can do this. Okay. And I will say, get the integrity journal if that's allowed to be used in your state, and they have a spot in there for them to initial that they were sworn in. Okay. Those are the kind of things that you can do, but you got to follow your state law. So don't think that I'm saying being rebellious or difficult. I'm not. I'm saying follow your state laws, and being in accordance with your state laws is not being rebellious or difficult. It's doing the right thing so that the signers can have a successful closing and not have that thing get pulled back. And I have to throw this in there also. One of the things that many of you don't realize, they do compliance checks to verify whether or not the whole loan process was done correctly. So they do compliance checks to make sure that the loan officer and the escrow and everybody's involved did not do anything that was incorrect or illegal or questionable, and forcing a signer to do something that they probably didn't want to do. If they signer signs that document and then all of a sudden they're like, I can't afford this mortgage, even though they got a $400 reduction in their mortgage payment, there's somebody's going to say, well, wait a minute, why can't you afford this if you just save $400? What's the problem? And that's when they start doing checks and say, wait a minute, if you couldn't afford this after 2, 3 months, maybe there was something that was going on. Maybe somebody did something or said something in your loan application that wasn't right, and everything can get scrutinized. So that's why it's important to follow your law. And I'm sharing that with you from what I heard directly from loan officers. All right. Lastly, be thorough and making sure that you double check your work at the end, but be thorough during the closing to make sure you watch where they need to initial, make sure that you understand who's supposed to sign what documents, all of that. Be thorough, take your time. If you have somebody who likes to read through the documents and everything, then you know what, while they're reading, go back to the pages that you've already had them sign and notarize and flip through and look at it. Double check again. So one of the best pages to do that on, about halfway through a lot of these documents, you have the document for them to put down how they want to receive their proceeds. Sometimes there's a document in there for them to fill out on how, their history, when they, how long they've been working and all of that. So those documents that they may need to read a little bit or have to fill out, it might take a little bit of time. Identity, marriage affidavits, things of that nature, you have that, and then while they're working on that, and it might take 2 or 3 minutes, you can quickly go back and flip through the documents that have already been signed to make sure nothing's been missed. You can do that. That's one of the tips, tricks, and nuggets that I'm sharing with you that you can actually do. So you halfway through, and all of a sudden, boom. Or if all of a sudden they decide, hey, I got a question, and they're halfway through and they need to talk to the loan officer or want to discuss something, or they get distracted and got to take a phone call, use your time wisely and flip through and go, okay, yep, all of that's good. And then going forward from where you're at, yep, it's good, it's good, it's good. And now you can just close up and bounce. And for some of you, and I like what y'all say y'all do, y'all double check there at the table, then y'all double check when you sit in the car, all of that. And even the best thing is double checking before you even ship the documents and after you scan, all of that. Be thorough. And if you do those 5 things, I'm telling you, you're going to create a wonderful experience for the signer. Okay. You're going to create a wonderful experience, and you will get calls back. You will get people calling you and saying, hey, I want you. I want that person to do these closing because the signers loved them. The signers were so happy. Everything was done right. And then let's just say you happen to make a mistake because of your pleasantries, your pleasantness. They know that you'll go back and get it done and taken care of. I'm telling you, you do these 5 things. I do them every single signing, and it works. And I haven't had anybody saying Griff has created a bad environment. He's a terrible person, this, that, or the other. I'm doing great. You can do great too. So I just wanted to share that with y'all. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, week, and year.